Museum in Bradford. The new purpose-built space, which is due to open in autumn 2018, will be accompanied by a photography festival and a new digital resource for enthusiasts around the world. Now, London is fast becoming a city of renters, with fears a generation are being permanently priced out of the housing market. Now, experts are warning rents could be set to rise in the capital as new rules are introduced for landlords this week. Ray Bolger is a housing markets expert and joins London Live News this lunchtime. Ray, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Just explain what these rules mean for renters in London.
OK, well, the basic change is that for landlords, up to now, their business, i.e. owning property, has been treated like other businesses and they've been taxed on their profits. As from tomorrow, their rental income will be added to their other income, and their taxable income will therefore include their total rental income rather than their profit. So one of the impacts of that is going to be that some landlords will end up paying more tax. And the worry is that, as a result, the amount of rental property available will be less because it becomes less economic for landlords to own property. Obviously, if that happens, tenants will have less choice. Not only less choice, but equally rents would go up in that situation because clearly there'll be less supply.
The new rules come into force this week. How soon do you predict that impact being felt by renters in the capital? Well,
I don't think it's going to have an immediate impact because the new rules are being phased in over a 4-year period, and some landlords are already selling some of their properties, those who've got a number of properties mainly. Some landlords, I think, will be put off buying, but there are some positives as well. Mortgage rates have come down quite sharply for buy-to-let investors, partly because rates have come down generally since Brexit, pushing rates lower, but also the number of people taking out buy-to-let mortgages has fallen off really very sharply by about a third over the last year. That was because of the 3% stamp duty surcharge. One of the impacts of that has been to force lenders to compete more actively, and they brought rents down to try and generate more business. So some of landlords' costs have fallen, which will help to mitigate this impact. So I don't see it having a huge impact immediately. The worry is that over the long term, if it's more expensive for landlords to own property, i.e. because they're paying more tax, less of them will do so, and hence there'll be less property available to rent.
What should renters in London do to perhaps put themselves in a slightly less fearful position?
Well, one thing they can do is to try and negotiate a longer-term tenancy. So at the moment, the vast majority of people have 6 or 12-month tenancies. And for some people, that works really well because they like the flexibility of being able to move on. But for others, particularly families, perhaps with children at school, where actually security of tenure is really important, try and negotiate a longer-term tenancy deal with your landlord, 3 years, maybe even 5 years. That may well have to include a clause whereby the rent increases, but it shouldn't be at anything more than inflation. So that would be one way of protecting yourself against rent rises. But of course, if you do that, you have to recognise that it is a commitment and you're likely to incur some sort of penalty if you want to move out early.
Ray, thank you very much indeed for joining us this lunchtime. Some expert advice there for you. It's time for a quick break now, but when we return...